My name is Eric Glaskin, and I am the Director of Financial Aid.
My name is Allison Garcia, and I'm one of the senior assistant directors here at Financial Aid.
And we are going to do a financial aid overview with you to help you learn about financing your Emerson education. So, student financial services, we believe in a student-centered approach focusing on individual situations. We are the offices of financial aid, student accounts, sometimes known as the bursar, and student success. This means that we treat each student as an individual. There aren't blanket statements. We will work with you on your family situation all throughout your process and all throughout your cycle here at Emerson. So today's session topics, we will briefly touch on merit scholarships, FAFSA simplification, financial aid, comparing financial aid packages, costs and billing, and financial options available. So merit scholarships, these are awarded by the Office of Admission through the admission process. There's only one scholarship that has a separate application, and that is the trustee scholarship for students that are admitted into the honors program. Again, that had a separate application. Other merit scholarships, again, it's nominated by the admission committee. These are annual merit awards for all 4 years. They are renewable for each year as long as the student is maintaining academic requirements. So they do need to follow up with that. FAFSA simplification, not so simple. What is happening? That is a great question. And if any of you can figure that out, please let us know. But in the meantime, we finally have the FAFSAs. We have your FAFSAs, or we have most of them. Schools are relying on continuous technical upgrades to be able to handle the ever-changing calculations and reprocessing of your FAFSAs. We have joined other schools across the country in delaying our deposit deadline in hopes of giving you more time to make a financially informed decision. This is why there was a delay in financial aid packages being released and why some of you still have not received one. We know we don't like this either. This is very different. A lot of things are still being worked out. There are a lot of little glitches and hiccups and quirks with the FAFSA that are still being worked on by the Federal Student Aid Office and the Department of Ed. But we will continue to work with you, the family, and the Department of Ed in getting your financial aid processed as quickly as humanly possible. How does this impact you? Well, many accepted applicants have already received an estimated financial aid package with federal and institutional need-based aid included. Some have only received an estimated cost sheet with institutional need-based aid using just your CSS profile, as well as merit scholarships that were offered through the time of admission. If this is you and you have received just institutional need-based aid or just your merit scholarship on your estimated cost sheet, and it'll say that on the form, please check your financial aid checklist to make sure that we have everything we need. A lot of students receive that and we still have not received their FAFSA yet. So please make sure you're checking in to make sure we have everything. If you have received an estimated financial aid package and you are a Massachusetts state resident, you will not see state aid on your financial aid package just yet. The state is only just starting to release their packaging information to schools, and we will soon be updating those financial aid packages with that information. We are not able to finalize your financial aid offers at this time as the Department of Education continues to resolve their glitches and reprocess financial aid applications. So right now, everything says estimated. We do not expect that by the time all of these FAFSAs have been reprocessed, that you will see a decrease in the financial aid. Generally, most of the reprocessing that we've seen either causes no impact to your financial aid package or has seen a slight increase. But we are leaving it as estimated until the Department of Ed has let us know that they are done reprocessing the FAFSAs altogether and everything has been resolved. Students continue to monitor your financial aid checklist on your admission portal to make sure that everything is all set. As we review your applications, we may request additional documents. or as the Department of Education sends us a reprocessed FAFSA, they may tell us that we need to ask for additional documentation to finalize your financial aid. Students and families can now make corrections, or most corrections, that is, on their FAFSA online. However, colleges and universities are still unable to do so. The Department of Education has not announced a timeline for this function. So while you can make corrections, we cannot. We cannot help you in making those. We can direct you to the FAFSA website. We can tell you which things need to be resolved, but we can't necessarily resolve some of these things for you at this time. But we will definitely work with you and help you the best we can. Aid programs. You may see Emerson Grant. It's a need-based grant that requires both the FAFSA and CSS profile. You have to submit both. The Pell Grant, federal grant, this requires a FAFSA and only a FAFSA. The SEOG grant, it's another federal grant. The government gives every school or most schools a small allocation of this funding to provide to the neediest of students. State grants, this actually needs an update. If you're in Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Vermont, or Washington, D.C., you have state grants that will work here in Massachusetts. Connecticut and Delaware have stopped, or at least as of this past year have stopped. Subsidized and unsubsidized loans. These are federal loans. Exactly what they are, what they say, loans. These are loans that will need to be repaid. The difference between the two loans, with a subsidized loan, the government is subsidizing the interest while the student is in school and during their grace period, which is 6 months after they graduate or drop below half-time status. The unsubsidized loan, you are responsible for the interest. For both of these loans, no payment is required until after that grace period ends. But again, the unsubsidized loan, the interest is accruing from the moment it is sent to the school. The subsidized, you are not responsible for the interest while you're in school. It does not accrue while you're in school, and the interest does not start accruing until after your grace period ends. The interest rates that you see here up on the screen are fixed interest rates, and for this academic year that is just ending, we do not know the interest rates yet for next year. Those are usually released late spring, early summer, so we should hopefully see something late this month, early next month. And then again, Massachusetts state residents, there is a Massachusetts no interest loan for available to, again, the highest of need students. Remember, grants are funds that do not need to be paid back. Loans are loans and they do need to be repaid. I do want to point out for the Emerson grant, because it does require both the FAFSA and CSS profile, that we only ask you for a CSS profile in your first year here at Emerson. After your first year at Emerson, you only need to complete your FAFSA every year to maintain your eligibility. So please remember to complete your FAFSA every year.
So a lot of discussion about institutional aid. We always recommend looking at private aid or private resources on where to find additional help. Where you can begin your research and finding scholarships would first and foremost be your school guidance office or perhaps your local library. They should have a list or at least give you a starting point on where you could do some scholarship searches. You can also ask your parents if their employers provide any sort of benefits with tuition, whether they are working at an institution themselves or if they have some sort of similar benefit to help offset the tuition costs. We also recommend looking at college websites, national websites such as National Merit Scholarship, Coca-Cola Scholars, etc. You can let us know at any point if you received an outside scholarship, especially if you have a request for a private scholarship documentation. We understand that a lot of these scholarships will notify you at any point during the year, so you don't have to feel like you have to update it by a certain time. You can always let us know whether it's the day that the bills are due or in the middle of Christmas, if you were able to be successful and secure additional scholarships through any outside resources. We also have our own through emerson.edu/private-scholarships. We update this quarterly. Right now, not so much because we've been focusing on the FAFSA, but we do recommend starting there if you feel a bit lost in everything, as well as emerson.igrad.com. That's updated as well. and that's available to our Emerson students.
You made a really good point that I want to add on, Allison, which is the private scholarship form. If you see that was requested on your checklist, you don't have to submit that right this very moment. If you're still waiting to hear from scholarship organizations, you can wait another few weeks to get that in. That will not hold up a financial aid package. And even if you do submit that, if you find out later you have another scholarship, just simply let us know. Send us an email, let us know what it is, and send us the documentation, and we'll go ahead and attach that to your file.
Some recommendations about how to begin your search. We always say to first and foremost begin applying. If you're not sure if you qualify, it could be that they have a very small applicant pool and your application may be one of the more stronger applicants. So it could be in your best interest to just, pursue that application and see if it's worth, worth your while. We do recommend looking at private scholarship applications that have a bit more of a component like essays or videos, because those can require a bit more work, but with a lot more resources offered. And it isn't a one and done process. We understand that new scholarships pop up all the time. We recommend setting up a scholarship designated email that you can just work on separately from your personal email, separate from your school email. That way you're not bombarded with a lot of notifications that don't apply. That way, when you do have the time in between classes and work, you can look at what new scholarship opportunities have popped up since you last searched, and then you can, look at any previous essays that you sent out, see if you could perhaps tailor some essays to reapply for different scholarships if you see a lot of the similar prompts. And that way you're saving yourself the stress by organizing everything into one email folder.
Okay, work opportunities. You might have seen on your financial aid package federal work study. Even if you didn't see federal work study on your financial aid package, you can still work on campus. Almost all of the positions for federal work study are also offered to students through Emerson Employment, which is open to all students, regardless if they have federal work study. The only thing that federal work study students have access to is our off-campus community service organizations that we partner with. And really the difference between the two is just the funding source of where the money is coming from to pay the students. Federal work study is partially funded by the federal government. Emerson Employment is completely funded by the college. There are generally over 1,600 student positions available throughout the year. They may not all be available in the fall, most will be. Some will open up in the spring as students graduate or go between our campuses. We do request that all students set up direct deposit, and employment earnings are not applied to the tuition bill. They are sent directly to the student. They are paid directly to the student for hours worked, which is why we request that they set up direct deposit. So you don't have to worry about a paycheck and having to go to the bank or take a picture of the check. You can get it right in there and have instant access to the funds. So cost of attendance. This is a survey of all costs associated with being a student. This includes direct costs like tuition and fees, things that you are going to see on your bill, and indirect costs like books and supplies, transportation, things that will not necessarily appear on your billing statement. This represents the maximum amount of financial aid that a student can receive from all funding sources, including loans. So again, an example, cost of attendance, the tuition, the fees, the food and housing, formerly known as room and board, your health insurance. These are all things that you'll be billed. These are things that will show up on your bill, and they're your direct costs. Your indirect costs are, again, your books and supplies, your miscellaneous and personal expenses, and transportation to and from the college for breaks and things like that. Keep in mind that if you have your own health insurance that meets the minimum standards here in Massachusetts, you can waive the health insurance. More information will be sent out right before the billing statements goes out, just to let you know that here's how you can waive your health insurance or your tuition insurance. And there'll be more information about both, as well as the waiver process. The transportation expense that you see as part of your cost of attendance will vary depending if you're a Massachusetts resident or an out-of-state resident. It's of course going to cost more to get to college if you're from out of state. Again, these are not things that are billed to you, so there's no difference in your billing, but in your overall cost of attendance, there is a difference. Some schools may list food and housing separately. We combine them together as food and housing. When you're living on campus, all students are automatically assumed to be in a double room. So that is what we expect, and that's what we put in the cost of attendance. If students adjust to a single or a triple, those will be adjusted once we know about that as well. So when comparing schools, keep in mind you need to compare the direct costs. Look at the tuition, look at food and housing or room and board, look at the student service fees, anything that are going to show up on your bill. That's what you want to compare. And then from there, you want to determine what is gift aid, what is a grant, what is a scholarship, what is self-help, like loans or federal work study that you have to either repay or you have to work to earn. And then understand the total difference in the cost of attendance. Again, the cost of attendance will vary from institution to institution. These include your direct and indirect costs. So you really want to focus on your direct costs when you're figuring out what you're going to owe to the school. School one and school two, they both have direct costs of $70,000. You receive a $25,000 grant from both schools. You receive the direct subsidized loan of $3,500 from both, as well as the unsubsidized of $2,000. School one looks like it's going to have a cost to you of $39,500. School two has included a Parent Plus loan for $20,000, making their cost to you look like it's going to be $19,500. Are these the same financial aid packages? Yes. Yes, they are. School two went ahead and put a Parent Plus loan on the financial aid package for you, but the parent still needs to apply for and be approved for that loan. School one will do the exact same thing if the parent applies and is approved. We will not put it directly on your financial aid package. So those are other things to keep in mind as well. So estimating the balance due in the bill, your direct costs minus your grants, minus your scholarships, minus the loans that you plan on accepting. That is your balance due. So this is a sample financial aid package. The financial aid package you see on your admission portal will be much different. It'll be more colorful and separated into more sections. But these are the types of things that you should see on a financial aid package. You should see your direct costs broken down between tuition, fees, and food and housing. And then you should see a breakdown of your indirect costs. From there, you should also see your financial aid. You should see scholarships, grants, and loans, and work study all clearly separated out and labeled, showing you the amount for each term and the annual amounts. You should also see your net cost. So please keep in mind when looking at them, even on ours, keep in mind that our financial aid package does tell you each step of the way after the cost of attendance, what happens when your scholarships are removed, what happens when your grants are removed, what happens when your loans are removed, and then of course it will not show you what happens when work study, because work study is not removed from your balance. So please keep in mind and look at the actual language being used when going through your financial aid package. It's very important. So alternative financing options. What are options that are available to you? There's a payment plan. This is generally 4 or 5 months per semester. You just divide up the balance and it'll be split up between the 5. There's no interest on a payment plan. There's no credit check on the payment plan. There is a $50 enrollment fee per plan. So for the fall, that would be one plan with payments beginning July 1st or the time of signing up if it's done after July 1st. And then for spring, it would be December 1st for your first payment. And again, that's based on a 5-month plan. Depending on when you sign up, you might be able to sign up for a 4-month plan if it's that much later. The Parent Plus loan. This is a parent loan. It's a loan in the parent's name. It's federally backed. The interest rates that you see here on the screen, just like we showed you before on the subsidized and unsubsidized loans, is the current interest rate. We do not know what they will be for the next academic year. We will hopefully find out in the next month or so. It is a fixed interest rate, at least as of right now. They do have an origination fee of 4.228, and that hasn't changed in a little bit. But definitely it is there. And what an origination fee is, it's taken out by the Department of Education prior to disbursement to the school. So we will take that into consideration when showing you your financial aid package and your bill. It will show up on your billing statement with the origination fee removed. Um, Credit check is required for a Parent Plus loan. It is a soft credit check. And if a parent is denied, the student can borrow additional unsubsidized direct loan funds based on their class level. So as a freshman, it would be 4,000. If you have sophomore credits, again, it would still be 4,000, but juniors and seniors, it would go up by 5. Parents can either accept the denial, they could also appeal the denial. They could do credit counseling if they're denied, or they could get an endorser. So everyone is different. You just let us know what you want to do. There's also private alternative loans. If you're going to go the alternative student loan option, we recommend that you start off with Elm Select. Elm Select is basically your online comparison tool. I call it the shopping tool because you can select different products from different lenders, and you can say, compare them for me. You can say, I want to see all the variable interest rates or all the fixed interest rates, and then compare them. And it's going to show you. You're not required to use any of these loan products that you see here. This is just a great comparison tool. So if you are going to look elsewhere, you know what questions to ask the lender that you're working with. It's a great education tool. These are student loans, so students will generally require a credit-worthy cosigner since most students haven't established credit at this time. As opposed to the federal subsidized and unsubsidized student loans, which do not require a credit check. All students are eligible for one or both as long as they complete a FAFSA and show eligibility there. Personal financing options. There are 3 options here. We don't advocate for any one of these. These are up to the family's financial situation. If you have a financial planner, please talk with your planner before choosing any one of these options, whether it's using a savings account, an IRA, home equity line of credit, retirement funds. Please do not jump to any of these or think that we are saying, go do this. But every family's financial circumstances are different. And these are some of the things that we have seen in previous years. You could do a combination of any of these. 1, 2, 3 of these things. If you want to do a payment plan, say for $10,000, a Parent Plus loan for $10,000, student loan for $15,000, whatever you want to do, you let us know when you get your billing statement what you want to do, and we will go ahead and make sure we put notations on the account so the Office of Student Accounts, our bursar, knows how you plan on paying your bill. That's the most important thing. Just please be in touch with one of our offices to let us know, and we'd be happy to work with you. So, what do you do now? Understand your financial aid package. Remember to notice which funds are grants, which are loans, and which are self-help. Compare your financial aid packages and your net costs. Estimate the balance due, what the bill will be, using your direct costs rather than your cost of attendance. Submit any outstanding financial aid documents via the admission portal. Check back often to see if additional documents are requested. Again, I cannot stress this enough. With the amount of reprocessing of FAFSAs from the Department of Education, it is very important you keep checking your checklist to see if they've told us we need something to verify, we will put it out there. This is a 4-year investment, so be sure to think about the bigger picture and the long term. Include planning for annual tuition and fee and food and housing increases. Remember, we are here to assist you for your entire Emerson career. Ask questions. Utilize our free financial wellness program. Reach out to your aid officer. You can email our financial aid inbox. You can sign up for an appointment with your aid officer, either a phone call or on Zoom. Or if you happen to be in the area and want to meet in person, just send us an email and we'd be happy to set something up. So now I'm going to open this up two questions. And I see lots of questions have already been flagged to answer live. So let's see what we can do.
Yeah,
Uh,
there are many, many questions that you all are asking, so thank you for doing that. Just as a reminder, if you do have a question, it would be eternally helpful to us if you can put that in the Q&A box, just because it will help us keep track of them all. There's some duplicate questions, so just gives us a little bit of a hand if you do so. Let's start by kind of going over some of these overall questions. One of the most popular ones being, once all of my documents have been submitted, once you receive my FAFSA, about how long should it take to receive that financial aid package?
that's a tough one to give a timeline. We are trying to get financial aid packages out pretty much every day. Um, that's almost every day for some sort of amount of financial aid packages are going out. That's probably the best I can give you. We are trying to review everything as quickly as possible. We are generating review reports once or twice a week for our aid officers to review applications, but we are packaging and releasing those pretty much every day.
I would say, give us a little bit of time just because it does take a moment to receive all the information, make sure we've received the correct information in addition to that. So if you have had things in for a while and you haven't seen anything yet, if you want to check in with your admission officer and or check in with the financial aid office, if it's been like a long time, I would say feel free to do that. But otherwise, we're working, and our financial aid folks are working as hard as they can, as fast as they can, to get those out. Relatedly, a lot of folks are wondering, how do we know when Emerson has received our FAFSA?
You will see it on your financial aid checklist on the admission portal. It will absolutely show up on your portal as received with a check mark. If you're still seeing the red X, please log into your FAFSA and make sure that it says it's processed. Please reach out to us. I know that right now, again, one of the lovely glitches is every time you log into your FAFSA, you get a lovely email letting you know that your FAFSA has been updated, even if you have made no updates. So trust me, we know about that. They know about that. And it may not be that you've made any updates, but as long as you log in, it thinks that you did. But just go in and make sure that it's processed. If it's missing something, then that is why. This year, the FAFSA is very different in that the student has their section, they submit it, and they invite a parent as a contributor, and they complete almost a separate FAFSA, basically. So they have to combine in the back end through the Department of Ed, and sometimes that's what's causing the issue is they're not connecting, or it has not been submitted by both parties.
And similarly, this one's a little bit different actually. If Emerson has received the FAFSA but not a person's CSS profile, that's a different story, right? What should folks do in that case?
If you do not plan on submitting a CSS profile, just send us an email letting us know. At this point, we're expecting that most people will want to submit it to be considered for need-based aid, because even if you aren't going to get need-based aid this year, in 2 years, in 3 years, you may have a change in financial circumstances. And if you do have a change in financial circumstances, if we have your CSS profile in your first year, we will consider you for institutional need-based aid at that later point, assuming that we had your FAFSA and profile in your first year. So it's very important. If you can submit your profile, go ahead and do it. If you absolutely have no desire to do it, that is perfectly fine. We will not force you. Just send us an email and we'll go ahead and get you a financial aid package with just federal financial aid included.
Great, thank you. There was one more related question that I just need to find back in the list. Um, oh yes, how would someone know if they need to make a correction to the FAFSA?
So if you need to make a correction, you're probably going to have an item on your checklist that says call the financial aid office. This is a new requirement that was added this year because we don't necessarily have a form for you to fill out, but we need to talk to you about something that needs to be done. So if you do see call the financial aid office or a call has been requested from the financial aid office, please call us as soon as you can, send us an email so we can try to help step you through what the Department of Ed has told us you need to do. Some of the things that they've told us are very vague, like missing critical parent information. That's very vague, but we can try to help step you through the process of going through and logging in to see what's missing. But that is probably the biggest way to know if there's a problem with your FAFSA and you need to make a correction.
If someone has made a correction to the FAFSA, is there anything they need to do to ensure that we receive it? For example, there is a person who's mentioning they made an update recently, but the version we are still showing was received on a previous date. Is there anything folks have to do after updating?
So the checklist does not update every time we get a new FAFSA. I will let you know that. You can always reach out to us if you've made a correction. I would wait about 3 to 4 business days before you reach out, just because they can take upwards of 2 to 3 business days to process before they get to us. So I would say around the 3 to 4 business day mark, reach out, confirm that we received your correction. Let us know what date you made the correction, because that'll also be important. That's especially important this year because, again, the Department of Education is doing their own reprocessing. So we want to make sure that we received your correction and not just a reprocessed FAFSA. It's a new learning new learning point for all of us this year, the language that we use and what we ask for.
I think the name of the game this year, even though it might take a smidge longer and mean a few more emails, is to, if you're unsure about something, it's always okay to check in about it. Give it some time maybe before you do, but if it's been a little bit and you're not sure, feel free to check in with us. I think, Eric, you may have some contact information that you can share, as there have been a few questions about how to reach out to folks, or the best ways to reach out to folks.
Yes, let's
So let's maybe
put that up. You can
um,
still ask questions. We are still here, but I will put this up now. Nice transition.
um, And then just one more quick question, which I think I can answer for folks who are wondering about the difference between receiving the FAFSA and the CSS profile. They are 2 separate items listed on the checklist. So both will be checked off if they've been received. For some reason, that CSS profile isn't checked off as received. And Emerson is one of the schools that you've listed to receive that item. That's something, again, you may want to check in on. But with that, a lot of questions centered around applying for some of these things that will actually lead into talking about appeals. So first, what I want to ask is, do folks need to apply for, separately from filling out the FAFSA, federal student loans?
So federal student loans, if you do a FAFSA and you are eligible, you meet the eligibility criteria for federal financial aid, you will see federal loans offered to you as your financial aid package. There's no separate application for those. However, there will be additional documents you need to do if you accept one or both of those. You will be required to complete a master promissory note, the MPN, through studentaid.gov, and you'll also need to do a direct loan entrance counseling through studentaid.gov. Studentaid.gov is the same place where you did your FAFSA. But we will let you know about those over the summer after you've accepted your financial aid, after we've sent you instructions how to accept your financial aid. So you'll be getting lots of emails from us over the summer.
Yes, that is the other name of the game, is please keep checking your email. Don't stop. Set a, what I would do is I would set a reminder on my phone to check it every day. It's not too often, really, just to keep track of things, and email is still the way. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that. I can take this one real quick and then we can talk about appeals for a moment. The same is true with merit scholarships. There was not anything specific you needed to do to apply for those unless you had applied for the honors program, which right now that process has concluded. So that's something you could explore going into your sophomore year, but for now that's done. All of our other merit scholarships were automatic consideration, so nothing you had to do for that. But that being said, many questions, of course, about the appeal process. You can appeal for both merit reconsideration and to provide additional information, perhaps about changing familial circumstances. Eric, do you want to talk a little bit about the that side of it for need-based aid?
Sure. Whether it is loss of income, reduction of income, unemployment, the unfortunate loss of a parent, divorce or separation. There are lots of things, extremely high medical expenses that you could submit an appeal for from financial circumstances. Let us know. There are many reasons that are listed out there. It doesn't hurt to file an appeal. If you're even not sure that it's something that we can consider, still submit it for us to consider. We will let you know if we need some extra documentation. We will ask you. We'll reach out, either put additional documentation requests on the checklist, or we'll send the student or parent an email. Just let us know. We're more than happy to work with you. Even if you already submitted an appeal previously and something else has changed, or there's something else you need us to consider, you can go back in and submit another appeal on both sides, whether it be merit or financial need based. You can submit it again. We will take a look if things have changed, if there's more things you want us to consider. We take a holistic approach, so the appeal committee will review all appeals together. So regardless if it's merit or need-based, they'll review them together and do the best they can and offer you what is most beneficial to the student from one side or the other.
And that process, we are also doing as quickly as possible as we are many of the other processes this year. We usually say usually at least a couple of weeks give us to start with. And we will let you know the results of that. You do not need to wait to receive your financial aid package to submit an appeal. In fact, it will probably be more helpful timing wise if you submit information that you already have now. That way, if we do need to wait for your financial aid package to be put together to send you the result, that may happen, but submit the appeal now, because that way we have all of the information that we need and can just get it all in one go.
Yep.
Um,
Whether you have a financial aid package already or you don't, whether it's estimated, which if you have one that's estimated, it's okay to go ahead and submit your appeal now. You do not have to wait for a finalized financial aid package or a package in general. Go ahead and submit your appeal. Don't delay.
And to do that, you will go to your application portal. Right at the very bottom, there's, I think, a teal button that says begin a student aid appeal. That is the form. It is one form for all of it, so no separate form for merit versus need-based aid or anything, just one button that you will submit through your appeal. You can include all of the information there, and then that's where we will take that and consider the appeals from. You can submit an appeal if you've already deposited, if circumstances have changed. You can submit an appeal if you've already received your financial aid package. If you have not already received your aid package, really the answer is you can appeal. Particularly if things have changed, that's usually the key. If you've already appealed once and nothing has really changed since that appeal result, there may not be a lot different that we'd be able to do, but you can always appeal, and we will let you know what it is that we are able to offer. Let's see what else we have here. A lot of appeal questions, so I just want to make sure to get the ones in between here. Let's see. Do you know, it's not really our process, I don't think, maybe I'm mistaken, but how long it typically takes for folks to receive approvals or denials on those Parent Plus loan applications?
It's pretty quick. It's basically immediate that you find out whether you're approved or denied. And if you're denied, again, you are presented with many options. Whether you want to accept the denial and the student can take out the additional unsubsidized loan, whether you want to appeal the denial and potentially do credit evaluation or credit counseling, or if you want to find somebody to be an endorser, basically a co-borrower, there are multiple options. Just let the school know. I wouldn't advise applying for the Parent Plus loan right this second, unless you are doing our global BFA program, which starts in the summer. I would not recommend applying just yet. Keep in mind, credit checks are only good for so long. So we want to make sure that they're good for your entire time and the loan can fully disperse so they don't have to run your credit again. So it is a little early to be applying for a private alternative or Parent Plus loan. Generally, if you want to wait until mid-June to do that, that's when you want to start doing that. And that'll give you plenty of time for the full academic year. And even still, it's okay to wait until your billing statement is received. Once you receive your billing statement, that's when you can actually really start applying. For the Parent Plus loan, when you apply, they don't necessarily ask for an amount. It's you're either approved or you're denied. That's what it is. It doesn't matter the amount. For an alternative student loan, you should put in an amount, and that's the key thing there. And even if you guys put in a higher amount, we can always reduce it. We can work with you to reduce the loan. It's a lot harder to go ahead and request more funds later. So you can always ask for more and then reduce it.
Excellent. Are need-based aid things like grants or federal loans stacked with merit scholarships?
They can be. It depends on the scholarship that you receive, and the amount of scholarship that you receive. If you receive multiple scholarships, if you receive a significantly high scholarship, it may reduce your eligibility or your need. So we might not be able to provide you with an institutional need-based grant. So they kind of do play off. The grant plays off of the scholarship.
Um, I think this was based perhaps on the cost of attendance. If you had shown that earlier, folks are asking about the medical insurance in particular. Um, when folks have their own medical insurance, if that meets the requirements for coverage, it does need to be you need to be covered in the state of Massachusetts, in particular. Is that then cost removed from the indirect cost of attendance?
Yes. So what'll happen is your cost of attendance it stays the same. Once your cost of attendance is generated, regulation does not require it be adjusted, so it will stay in there as a miscellaneous expense or personal expense, but it will come off of your bill once you waive it, and you will receive information more about the waiver process. It is not open right now, so even if you go online and find the instructions, the process for next year has not opened up. I know everyone's anxious to go ahead and get everything done as quickly as possible. We will let you know as soon as the process opens up. You'll submit your health insurance information. We have a third party that verifies all the information from the university health plans. And once they confirm it, they let us know, and then the fee is removed or waived.
And the cost that was shown on that indirect cost of attendance, is that, if you know the current cost of the Emerson provided insurance or
Um,
close to?
I do not have official numbers.
Perfectly fine. This is
But
what we
if
talked
you
about.
go to emerson.edu/billing, you will see the current year. And generally it doesn't change by much, maybe a couple, $200 or $300 at most we see in an annual change. So if you go to emerson.edu/billing and click on costs, you should be able to see this year's costs all across the board. Next year's costs will hopefully be available in the next week or two. But at the very least, you do have your estimated cost of attendance sheets on your admission portal.
This is actually a great moment to segue into a couple of items as folks submit any final questions that you may have. Yes, we will absolutely be sending out a recording of this webinar. You'll get it by email in about a week. It may be up on our YouTube channel slightly earlier, but definitely within the week. And then we will also, for folks who decide that they would like to join us at Emerson, which we would love, and go ahead and deposit by June 1st for most of you, we will be holding a Next Steps webinar in early June for folks who are coming to the Boston campus. So you'll get that invite a little closer to the actual event, but we will cover a lot of these things like health and wellness services, as well as what to do about that insurance requirement, things with housing, academic advising and classes, other things. So all of these questions that will come about that are things you'll do more after you've deposited and you're planning to matriculate at Emerson, we will definitely go over. So you don't have to do any of those just yet. Actually, one great question, which I think you might have touched on briefly, but maybe worth touching on again. Are there ways to pay for the tuition, housing, food costs on a payment plan, or does it all have to be paid at once?
Absolutely. So when you get your bill, that will have tuition, food and housing, your student service fee, health insurance. Again, everything is there. You can choose to pay everything all at once as a lump sum. You can choose to sign up for a payment plan, and that'll be a 5-month payment plan or 4 months, depending on when you sign up. But you can break up the costs. You can also, again, have financial aid for a portion of it, borrow a loan for a portion of it, and then say, all right, after the loan, the rest will be a payment plan. It can be broken up, absolutely.
And for those folks who are students in our global BFA program who have a bit of an earlier start time that are still waiting on some things for those, I believe we might be still working on a couple of things, but Eric, if folks are still waiting for a financial aid package for the global BFA program, is that something that maybe they should reach out about?
Absolutely. Send us an email. Again, every we haven't stopped any population from receiving a financial aid package. So I don't want to say all GBFA students haven't or all transfers haven't. It's been a combination. So everyone's been going out as quickly as we can get them out.
Absolutely. Um, all right. It looks like we're getting ready to wrap up here. If you still have an outstanding question, don't worry, we are getting to it. It might just be off screen. Just wanted to cover a couple of things. So I mentioned we do still have, upcoming webinars. If you decide to come to Emerson, we would love to have you. I know we have, I think, a few transfer students in the room, so we will have some transfer specific events as well as a in-person event for you. You will get those invites as those come up. You can also, if you're a student, join the community on Zeme. That is where all of our students are communicating with each other. So if you're looking for a way to connect with other admitted or deposited Emerson students, Zeme is the way to go. And then if you would like to participate in any of those virtual or upcoming in-person events, that other QR code will take you right to that section on our website. There's also various links usually in your portal you can follow as well. And of course, Eric, maybe if you don't mind going back to that contact slide, there are multiple ways that you can get in touch with all of us if you have questions. If they are overall questions, feel free to reach out to us in the admission office. If they are specific questions related to aid, you can reach out to our financial aid folks, as well as some of our other offices here for other questions. Eric and or Allison, are there any kind of final words of encouragement, advice that you'd like to offer before we sign off here?
Continue to check your email. Right now, you're checking your personal email address. Students, check your email. Not everything is going to the parents. Once you deposit and you get an Emerson email address, check both email addresses, because at some point there will be a transition from when we send less to your personal account and more to your Emerson email address. So make sure you're checking them both, especially once you have them. And if you have questions about anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Send us an email, give us a call. I will say we are open Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. On Wednesdays, it's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And during the summer, Fridays, the college closes at 3 p.m. So we are open 9 to 3 on Fridays. So please reach out, send us an email, give us a call. Allison, thoughts?
Just continue reaching out to us if you have any concerns, if you're confused about how to read your aid letter. This isn't the last conversation. This is the start of a long conversation. We're always here to help you, especially if financial circumstances change in the future. Just because you don't think that you might qualify for an appeal now doesn't mean you might not be reaching out to our office in the future. So we're always available for appointments by Zoom, by phone, and in person. And yeah, we're looking forward to working with you.
Excellent. Same can be said for the folks in the admission office. Please feel free to reach out to us either generally at that admission at emerson.edu email or to your admission counselor directly. We're all listed in your portal that you can always reach out to us with any questions or concerns. We're here for you as you start to wind toward making some of these final decisions here. Happy to answer any questions at any time. We do hope that we're going to see you soon at Emerson. And for now, we will sign off. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, and we will see you at the next one.